Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the story of a god with a serious identity crisis. We're talking about Baal and the two radically different roles he played in ancient history.
So let's just jump right in with a real head-scratcher. How did a god who is worshipped as a master of weather and life, a god whose whole brand was making things grow, somehow become the ultimate symbol of being completely and utterly useless?
Okay, to figure this out, we have to go back to the beginning and understand who Baal was to his own people, the Canaanites. Because, trust me, to them, he was the real deal, anything but powerless.
You know, his name alone tells you everything. The word Baal literally means owner or lord, and we're not talking about some minor landlord here. For the Canaanites, he was the prince, the lord of the earth itself. That's total mastery over the world they absolutely depended on to survive.
So what was his main gig? Well, first and foremost, Baal was a storm god, a seriously fearsome one. Think lightning bolts, thunder, the whole shebang. He was often shown with the horns of a bull, another raw symbol of power. He was the one who could either wreck your crops with a storm or bring the rain that gave you life.
And this is where it gets really cool. Because that whole storm god thing, it tied directly into his most important job, being a fertility god. In fact, Canaanite mythology explained the seasons through him. The brutal, dry summer, well, that was Baal getting beaten by Mot, the god of death. But when those first autumn rains finally came, boom, that was Baal, back from the underworld, victorious, and bringing the entire world back to life with him.
And he wasn't just some passive force of nature. Oh no, Baal was a fighter, a cosmic conqueror. He didn't just inherit his throne, he took it. The stories say he beat down Yam, the god of the sea, and, get this, even kicked his own father, El, off the throne to become the undisputed king of the pantheon. Talk about ambition.
And if you're trying to get a handle on just how big of a deal he was, just think Zeus. Seriously, the comparison is pretty spot on. Both were the top dogs, both ruled the sky, and, yep, both had that signature lightning bolt. He was that level of powerhouse. Okay, so you've got this picture of an absolute titan, right? A cosmic king, a force of nature. Got it? Good. Now, forget all of it, because we're about to pivot to a completely different story, one where all of that power just vanishes.
See, in the biblical narrative, Baal isn't really treated as a god at all. He's not a genuine contender. Instead, he gets a major demotion. He becomes a symbol, an allegory for a human struggle that's as old as time itself.
So what exactly does he symbolize? Well, in this new role, Baal is the great temptation. He's the allure of the tangible world, the promise of the quick and easy fix, instead of spiritual faith, which is, a lot harder. This whole allegory really boils down to a core conflict. On one side, you've got the Israelites, who kind of represent all of us, right? The believer's constant struggle with faith. And on the other side, you've got Baal, the idol. He embodies every worldly temptation, materialism, power, immediate gratification that promises a shortcut to solving all your problems. So what happens when you take that shortcut? Well, according to this narrative, turning to that false promise, that easy fix, it never ends well. In fact, it leads to some pretty severe and, honestly, very predictable consequences. It actually traps them in this painful, repeating cycle. First, they'd relapse, turning to Baal for a quick fix like rain. Then, calamity. They'd face oppression, defeat in battle, you name it. That suffering would force them to repent and turn back to their faith, which would lead to deliverance for a little while. Then the temptation would creep back in, and the whole cycle would start all over again.
So this ongoing conflict, this back and forth between faith and temptation, can't go on forever, right? It all builds and builds to one of the most dramatic, high-stakes confrontations you can imagine.
It all comes down to one single question. Who is really in charge here? This wasn't going to be some quiet debate. This was a public, winner-take-all contest to prove, once and for all, which divine force actually had mastery over the elements. The stage is set on Mount Carmel, and the matchup is, well, it seems a little lopsided. In one corner, 450 prophets of Baal. In the other, just one guy, the prophet Elijah. The challenge was simple, but epic. Call down fire from heaven.
And the result? For Baal's prophets, nothing. For hours, they're yelling, praying, dancing, and crickets. No fire, no voice, not even a whisper. In the ultimate test, Baal is revealed to be completely impotent. Then Elijah says a simple prayer, and boom, fire from heaven consumes the sacrifice, proving where the real power lies.
But here's the ultimate irony, the final nail in the coffin. After proving the storm god couldn't even start a campfire, Elijah prays for rain, and the sky opens up, ending a massive drought. The one thing that was supposed to be Baal's whole brand, control over the weather, was effortlessly demonstrated by his rival.
So why does this ancient story, this tale of a forgotten god, still resonate thousands of years later? Why are we still talking about it?
Well, here's a great way to think about it. The struggle is like being on a diet. You know what's good for you in the long run, the discipline, the patience, but that quick, sugary fix, that immediate gratification, it's always tempting, isn't it? In this story, Baal is the sugary fix.
And that leaves us with a final thought. If the story of Baal is an allegory for those tempting but ultimately empty promises the world offers, the quick fixes that promise everything but deliver distress, then what are the Baals that command our attention in the world today?